The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Let's see.
Hi, Clark.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, I joined as a panelist.
Thank you. Just 1 second. Jason, you're set as the presenter. Got it. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Center of Excellence Consultant Roundtable. My name is Clark Haskins, and I'm a member of the Expert Services Consultant team. I'm in distribution and manufacturing. On behalf of the entire North America Center of Excellence team, we wanted to welcome you and thank you for attending our first Consultant Roundtable. Our agenda for today is we'll begin by discussing the Consultant Roundtable objectives, and I'll cover that. Jason King will introduce you to the North America Center of Excellence and what we do. We're very excited to have Lisa Dorsey and John Geddes in today's roundtable to introduce you to the very exciting data migration tool, one of the initiatives our team's been working on. Scott Whitney will discuss what's new with Sage X3, as well as Sage University offerings. And then we'll talk about the next Consultant Roundtable. So, Consultant Roundtable objectives. One of the reasons our team put this together is we wanted to introduce you to the North America Center of Excellence. We wanted to have the opportunity to share with you what we do, as well as where we're going in the future. On today's call, a few of the colleagues from our team will be presenting in the roundtable, and other colleagues will be presenting in future roundtables. Another objective of the call is we wanted a place to collaborate, somewhere where we can share ideas and X3 application experiences. Future topics will be in finance, distribution, manufacturing, and technical. Some roundtables will be a single topic and others will cover multiple topics. Another objective of our consultant roundtable is we wanted to inform things like what's new in the latest release, review Sage U offerings, discuss the North America Center of Excellence initiatives like the DMT today, and more to keep you up to date with all that is X3. Overall, our objective is to work together to knock down barriers and to simplify to achieve customer success. That's everyone, we all agree that's everyone's top objective. Jason King will discuss the North America Center of Excellence.
Hi, everyone. This is Jason King. I'm a Principal Expert Services Consultant specializing in finance at the North America Center of Excellence. So this group is a team of technical and functional experts, and we work with partners across the Sage ecosystem. And our objective is to provide services to partners to help them grow and scale the offerings. Clark, next slide. Just a couple of points I wanted to mention here. Some things that Expert Services focuses on is to drive growth to partners. And we do this by the initiatives that Clark started to mention. Some of them are listed here. such as X3 Start, the expert services customizations and service bundles. Just to call out X3 Start, we have already released the US folder earlier this year, and we are working to bring that up to 2022 R3 release, and we will be delivering a US and a Canadian folder for that initiative. We're also adding more training on the X3 Start initiative. We also focus on partner enablement. So here we're providing services that allow partners to upscale customer offerings and knowledge. And this includes some examples: expert training, which Scott will take you through some of the expert training that is up and coming. The consultant roundtable, this meeting that you're attending today, the first one of its kind. System audits, and data migration tool, which you'll see in just a few minutes a demonstration of. So thanks everyone. Over to Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Well, that was quick. Well, good to be able to present the data migration tool. Go ahead, next slide, Clark. First of all, I'm Lisa Dorsey, so I'm one of the project managers in the North American Expert Services team. And this is one of the initiatives that we were working on, as Clark mentioned earlier. So data migration tool, DMT for short, was created and is also being maintained by our team, the Sage Expert Services in North America. Data migration has been around, this tool has been around for quite some time. We released it formally in August 2022, but some of you have probably used it in your implementation. So John Geddes, who's going to be doing a demo, has been using it for years. So when we were PSG and we were doing direct projects, we were using this tool. So it is something that has been around, even though we just released it formally in August. It's been vetted, it's been used many, many times in lots of projects. The first way of getting access to it is through Sage University. So if you were to go on your Sage U, log into your account, and search for Sage Data Migration Tool, it will come up in your search. It is one-time fee per organization. So that means only one person, first time go in and registering for the class, you will be charged a fee, but any other colleagues that sign into Sage U, you are not charged an additional fee. So it's one colleague, that first colleague per organization, per company. Once you have gone through the training, and it's all on demand, by the way, so you can go back and revisit certain pieces of that training. So that's a nice feature too. But after training, then you can go into Sage City and download the DMT tool. All updates and releases and future releases, improvements that we make will also be on Sage City. So you'll get an announcement. Make sure you're on the announcement in your settings that you do get announcements from Sage City updates. We designed the Sage Data Migration tool as an Excel-based interface. Doing this because it's easy adoption. Everybody knows Excel. Excel also gives us a lot of capabilities in creating formulas and values and translation of values. So Excel is easy to use. We didn't want to make it product specific because you get into patching, version control. So Excel was the choice that we have used, and we'll stick with that. Over the years, as I said, we've been using for many, many years. We have really noticed a 50 to 60% improvement over standard import methods. And if anybody's been involved in data migration, it's a tedious process. The mapping takes time. You're going back and forth. Sometimes the import logs, once you're in X3, are hard to diagnose what the errors are. So the data migration tool really, improves that process, puts in mapping efficiencies to make it a much better process when you're taking data from an external system and getting it into X3. A comment about upcoming releases. Currently, as I said, we released the core DMT in August, and the next project we're working on is a 500 to X3 DMT. And I know a lot of you guys on the call probably have you know, you work on other product lines, not just X3, and you may have some familiarity with 500, 300, 100, etc. So what we are aiming to do currently are working on the 500 project. And you know, we're aiming for like a 80% automatic mapping between the two products. So I think that's going to be really, really great when we get that released. Okay, next slide, Clark. A couple of key points to mention. One thing that's a really nice feature about the tool is the audit reporting. Within the tool, we have come up with a way to really identify errors pretty easily, and you'll see this in the demo, and also to allow for easy correction. So what we're doing is when we run audit reporting within the DMT tool, data is actually compared to X3. So we have a query that has run against X3. So you are seeing your categories, you're seeing anything you have already set up in X3, and we're doing that comparison to identify any errors. So these audit reports can be saved. You add new fields, you add custom fields, etc. You can keep running these audit reports until you are out. You know, you have no errors. So that's also a nice feature. You have residual information to go back to if you need to. Some of the values and some of the fields that we're using for auditing is listed there. We're identifying required fields. We're making sure if something came from an existing system, it's 60 characters in length, and the field in X3 is only 30. We identify that, and then we give you options on what do you want to do in that case. We're checking data formats. We're checking phone formats, balance transactions, and this is just a sampling. There's definitely more fields that we're auditing. Now, DMT is, you're probably thinking mostly for new implementations. A lot of you are, already customers, or you're, have been using. You've already gone past that migration process. But we're seeing a lot of companies that are acquiring new companies, and they need to bring in those products, those companies' products, customers, open balances, etc. So new company implementations, DMT can be used for those cases. And if you have more complex routine imports that you need to get on a regular basis that you're running. So DMT can be used for those type of imports as well. Next slide, please. These are the current templates that we released in August, and the point was that these are the primary data imports that we see, right? Master data, customer suppliers, your products, your bombs and kits. Doing some updates on the master data. There's a list of some of the updates we typically do after the initial master data is entered. And then open documents, BP invoices, AP invoices, trial balance, and then inventory uploads. And this is just our initial list. As I said, we are going to be releasing updates to the core and to 500 to X3. We're going to add sales invoices, purchase invoices, open POs, open sales orders, costing, just to name a few. So this is just our initial list, but look for updates with additional templates. Next slide, please. And this is just to give you kind of a high level of where you are in the process. So the data preparation is the external system, and that source system today can be 500. As I said, we're going to have something that has a more automatic mapping, but you can use any external system. It could be QuickBooks or one of the Sage products, any other system. You're getting all that data. The format's typically CSV when you're getting ready to import into X3. So we still use that same format. And then your process here is to go in, bring up the tool, which is a Excel workbook. And right now you export that data, you kind of copy and paste into the tool. We are going to automate that. So you're in the tool and you can just bring in the data without having to do the copy and paste. Even though that's a simple step, we really want to do as much automation that makes sense for the tool. You're going to be performing mapping exercises. So once that data is in DMT, you're performing mapping exercises. And keep in mind, these mapping exercises are one time. Once you figure out what that mapping is, you got it, and it's there for the rest of your import process. So that is where a lot of the efficiencies are. Creating the audit report, as I mentioned, correcting any errors, and that you'll just continue to do that until everything is clean. Create the import file. So the import file is created within the tool. Then you log into X3 and you're going through the normal process. So you'll import that file and then go through your validation. So that is just the normal process that everybody does today. But the errors should be greatly, if not all, reduced time you get to X3. And I think that is the last slide, Clark. Let's see, the next slide should be turning this over to John, and he's going to show you a demo.
Okay, John, I'm going to make you the presenter. Perfect. You should get now able to present. Awesome.
I think so. Okay. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble. Got it. Hopefully you see it now. Is that correct?
Perfect. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, this is the DMT program that we were just talking about. It's a place where the different DMT templates are stored so that we're going to preset up the fields that it has for a particular type of template. And we're also going to, when you get this program, we give you the templates we constructed that work with X3's template process, the import process. But you also have the flexibility to change these, and I'll demonstrate in a moment. But basically, this is just a button kind of program. It also has other information, and currently we have the templates that we thought would work, which is the core kind of starting point. And then we have some templates that we wrote specifically set up for start. Okay, and soon we'll have some for Sage 500 that will work with the mapping that we've figured out to do and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just create customer as an example. Oh, I should have mentioned, you have the ability to set where you want the data to go to. I have done this earlier. So I'm going to click here. When it goes to create this file, it would go out and check to see if it already exists so you don't override it. If it did, you would then be able to change the name or decide that you want to override it, just for information. So now I can just go here to go to where the file is. And let's see. All right, just a second. Should be right here. Why? Oh, I'm used to it being different, sorry. And okay. Okay, here's the program it created. Now this is a program that took all the different fields that we needed and things like that and set up this program. Those that had used the old program I had before, the structure to create the import file is down here. And it basically allows us to take separate amounts of data, like, you know, the different sheets that we want to do. When you do a customer, you've got the header information of customer, you have an address, you have ship to, you have contact information, and you can have bank. And the program will take these separate groups of data and put it in the order that X3 needs when you import. It's one of the powerful points of this. You can take data, and we'll show you how it'll map in just a moment. And the system is allowed to change that. Maybe you have data that has all the information on one line for every transaction or amount of information. This program can handle that also. We'll show that in just a moment. One of the things I'm going to get across, we added something that's really helpful. We have the ability to audit a lot of the fields of information. Our goal is to try to limit as much as possible and get the errors prior to importing. That way you can see them as a group, and there's a lot of warning information that it would be better to see how it looks. And for example, if you would be nice to know that the customer name you're bringing in is actually too long, and what would it look like if it gets truncated by X3. But what the program needs to do is be set up, and when we click on this, it's going to reset up. Of course. Even though I tested this many times, I ran into a problem. I apologize. Yep, that's what happened. I am missing a file, which is the file that you will get when you export from X3. In just a moment, I'll grab it. I apologize for the delay. The program will now go out, grab that information, and it will go through the whole setup that we have down here. And if you make changes on this, you add different fields and things like that, the program will go out and find the data types and tell us how what it's going to be able to audit. So in this particular case right now, all the things marked in green, it's going to audit. The value, it allows you to audit the value of those. In other words, we're going to see whether, does that currency value exist, so forth and so on. And as we discussed, it also audits things like formatting. One of the nice ones is the phone number. You can see whether or not it's going to fit, and that it is all numeric values and it's not larger than what is allowed for that particular country. So forth and so on. Okay, all these kind of things. So when it goes through this audit, when it did this, it set up the files. We have all kinds of functions we can do. And I'll go through these functions as I do the demo. The main purpose I wanted to cross this is to show you that it can handle a variety of different sheets to bring in to the process. Going back to the setup, keep in mind, as I said, you have the ability this is set up. So you're able to do the file type. We do two types of files you can do right now, ASCII2 and delimited. So depending on how you want to set up the template in X3, you can match it here for these types. Your field separator, your record separator, what delimited you want to do. One nice thing about this function, every cell that you're bringing across, every data you bring across, it's a date. It's when when the invoice was created date, for example. The program will take the date and put it in this format so that it will match the format that X3 needs it for. So you don't have to do anything to make that happen. Okay. And then, so let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, we had talked about this setup. No. Oh, the other thing is you can set where you want the import file to go by hitting here, just like we talked about earlier. All right, I'm going to switch now to our demo data that we're going to use. So I will bring it over here. Now this is one that is used for invoices, AR invoices, okay? So as you can see, all the data is one. Even though we have three separate types of data, you have your header, you have your line, and then you have the detail information that can go along with that. This, you can put it in this kind of thing because when we're doing open AR, basically you just need the open balance. So we just have one line of information. So I wanted to point that out. So this will write it in the correct format. Either one will get it in the correct format. So we go down here. So Right now, I have already brought in my data. This is kind of a data format I've seen often for AR invoice that customer would give me. So depending on your system, you can have this kind of format. And it's got just typical information you would have. But there's information that's missing. In the program, you can allow for that too. And I'll show you some of that in just a moment. But obviously, this is not something we can easily format to. We have several different ways to approach this that we can map. One way is that we could just manually pick it. So we have the ability to manually pick whatever we want to do. So we click here. This opens up for us to pick what one we want to map to, right? So for example, if I hit site, there is no site on that data. So what I can do is in this area where we have this field, we have a place where we can set up static data, right? And I have several different types of static data I have my site, currency, tax, rule, a GL count that we're using for this to bring it in. So I can easily map to that. I'll go back here, go to site, pops open. All I have to do now that's going, I can go here. I can go map right to it, site right here. And I want to point out a couple things. We have what's called key format, things like that. The program is going to, based on that, it's going to add some formulas to it, meaning when it does it, it's going to trim the data, because one of the things that Excel has, it's a positive, negative, depending on your point of view or needs, every time you link a formula directly to a cell, it wants to treat it automatically as a numeric value. So if you just put equal, it would put 0 there. Well, that is definitely not what we want. If it was blank, we would want it to be blank because it's a text value. So the program is going to do that. There's several other formulas it's going to do. I'm going to do a count date, the date that this is going to be posted to X3. So again, I have a static value I have to do on that one. And I go to this date, choose this, and you will see it also does more. One of the things is with dates is many times when you go to map it, it doesn't always want to bring it across. If it's blank, it tries to put 0 because, you know, a date is a numeric value. We don't want that. We want it to be blank so that we know that it was blank to begin with. And so this is just a formula that it does for us, the program does, and maps it for us. So it speeds up this process of mapping. Now, the other area that we can do it, and in the future you're going to be able to do, there's a row up here that we can have that you'll show on version 2 that is going to allow us to map by the header. I'll show you what I mean. We could do it by terms, and we can put that up at the above there. One nice thing will be about that, you'll be able to auto map based on that header information. That way, if in the future you get the same report, but they move where it's at, you know, they move this cell to this cell, this column to this column, or they insert or something, it means it's off. The program will automatically go out and map what I just did manually there and map it for us. That's in version 2. It's coming out, I hope, in the next couple of months or soon. Very soon, I hope. So now I have that ability. Now the other ability I have is I can also do formulas, okay? For example, on invoice type, you have Sage has the ability to have for invoice different coding for certain types, however you want to set that up. In my particular case, the way they had it set up in X3 at this time was that it had invoice for the invoice and credit mono. Well, obviously in the data, there isn't anything like that, right? So the way I know to do it is because if the invoice is negative or plus, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that, show you how you could do that. So basically, I need to create a formula, something like this. Go back to here. And under invoice type right here. I'm going to insert this formula, like so. Basically what I'm saying, hey, is this value is greater than 0, then I want it to pull the invoice code, row 9. Otherwise, I want it the credit, with credit memo code, right? So I enter here. So I've done that. Another thing that keep in mind is that the program has the ability to do other things. You could set up lookups. You could set up all kinds of different functions like that. But we also have the ability for you, after you've done it, we mentioned before, it's a one-time deal and things like that. I can save my mapping. So I did earlier. So I'm not going to go through everything to show you. So I'm going to restore my mapping. So it was stored up here, and now it's all set up what I had before. So I could always change it, save it again, that sort of thing, as you can see. Okay. One of the errors I always like is the fact that when I do map using that program, it will absolute values for things where it needs to be. For example, you're doing a GL history, it knows that you need to absolute value that. You don't want to have the negative value, right? You don't situation. Normally in invoicing, especially in OpenAR, you do not want it, you want it to be absolute value. Okay, let's see. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show now. Now, I could right now, I want to now have all the lines to show up. Well, all you have to do that is hit refresh. And what it does, the program goes out there and determines the number of lines of data that you have, and it copies your phone, copies the data down. Now, I could create the import file right now. And all I have to do that would be to go here. Nope, sorry, wrong place. Here we go. And I would click on create import file, right? But obviously, there's probably going to be errors because this is from their data. So the customer code and all that stuff that is mapped there is like most likely incorrect. So what I can do is do an audit. So I go up here and I run this audit report. It's going to go out and audit all the cells that are out there. So basically there are 40 lines, fairly small file, but actually did a count, a cell count. There's 1,000 cells of data that it had to audit, and it processed 3,000 different types of audit. Okay, and we've got 83 errors. So now you can see the type of errors that are happening. So what we're going to do is go by data type. So if I go in here and I say, what data types do I have? Well, I have trouble with customer number, description, and field separator. Okay. So we can now sort or filter by this, so we can make our change. We can make changes from this screen itself. And select all. Let's just take a look at field separator. Okay. So basically what happened? Well, my data contains a pipe. Now this is where you have a couple choices. You could just change this one, but or you might have a situation where a pipe is required. Nope, every time we have this, we really have to have it. It's part of our description of information and things like that. Well, one thing you could do, remember, is I could go and change my template and say, you know what, let's use semicolon or whatever. And the program would do that. Or I could switch to delimited. And then the program, when it audited, would look for the double quotes. So you have the flexibility to change it so that and the next time you would audit it, if you put it as delimited, right, it would then audit for delimited, and that pipe would not cause trouble, just like X3 would not cause trouble if you had went to delimited. So you have flexibility with the program. As I said, one of the main reasons I wrote this in Excel is because we have flexible. But there's another area that can happen that might be an issue for you, right? Which is, you know, how do I add fields and things like that, right? Well, the best way you can do it is actually simply do it this way. And I don't know, I'm not far enough over because I want to keep it here. So let's say, you know what, you have a custom field. like this, right? And I'm just going to say, this is how easy it is to add a new field. Hopefully I can copy it. Yeah, there we go. So that's it, okay? And when I would rent, if this particular field, in this case is, oops, forgot to copy this part. It's formatting. Let's just say the custom field is this, and it's a local menu. So now this, basically, if I run it again, even though I've already started the audit process, I can restart over. And simply I could do this to refresh my data. And all the errors I forgot to point out are in red. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh, and you'll see that it goes back to normal. Okay, so it doesn't, everything, the audit's ready to be redone. I got, ahead of myself or whatever. And they told me, hey, this is always going to default to 2. So I'm just going to do that, right? And I refresh my data, voila. So this means you can add any field that's in X3 or things like that. What I should have done is done this, run this, and you'll see, if I go back here, it now has local menu as a data type. That wasn't there before. And now this is ready to audit, okay, those fields. So you set ready to go, and right here, it's mine there. So you see that it put a data type up here, a local menu, and the program now knows to audit that this value allows for it too. Right? Okay. So that's how quick I can do it. But now I'm going to go back to fixing the data. So I want to fix this. Let's say I decide, you know what? The program told me, hey, if you take out the pipe, this is what it would look like. Do you want to keep that? Well, I have the ability to say, yeah, you know what? That is what they wanted me to do. This is what I need. Take out the pipe. So all I have to do is just click here, and the program will ask me, do I want to do all, or in the case of just one line, so it doesn't matter what I pick. And it's going to do that. Now it's telling me it's using a suggested value. So when I go to it, it was marked red, but now you'll see it has the value that's there without the pipe. So this is ready to go as far as the program is concerned. So we go back to here, back to the audit. Let's look at a different one. Let's look at description and see what we've got problem we have there. So we have two. We have two different problems. One is it has 55 characters, and the maximum in this one is 30. The other one is this description ended up being a required field. So I have two issues here. One is, hey, and it's both descriptions, but I have two different types of issues you can see. So I can again fix it from here if I want to. One, I'll ask them, and the person came back to me, you know what, that description really isn't that important to us. So I go here to double check where it's at. And there we go. Okay. So, oh, you know what I forgot to do? I apologize. I should rerun the audit report since I added a field, which I didn't do. Again, flexibility. So I'm going to redo it. And it's going to ask me if I want to keep my old one or, or not. And I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to keep the old one. Or no, I'll say yes and keep it. So I have a record of what I did so far. All right. So now I go back. I'll go in here and you'll notice that description, go back to description, and here we go. Okay. So if I go back here, this is a required field. It's blank. So I would need a value to, find out what value I should put in there. I basically would ask them. So, or send it to somebody to give me new data that has the correct value in case it's a bigger issue. I can change it. Basically, the best place to do it is from the audit report because it keeps a record for you of what you changed it. So in this case, I'm going to do that. In this one here, I'm just going to put what they told me, the suggested value they told me to put was P0003, okay? because it, there are times when you need to have a certain code coming over from an AR information. Okay, so that one's done. Here, the same thing. They told me they want to keep it. Go ahead and just truncate it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I go ahead and here, and I'm going to do both of these at the same. Just say yes, do it all. Voila. Now finally, I got one more situation. It's very normal. As I said, the customer codes are wrong. All right. Fortunately, I set up a transcribe prior to this. And so basically, I found out there was only 3 values in the file. And so I'm going to convert them from this value to this. And to do that, I just need to make a formula. So going back to invoice data. No, I'm sorry, audit data. And I go here and I can just put this formula. If it works, yep. Okay, like that. And then I want this also to fill it in. So it's a lookup. See, it's a lookup here that's basically going to the transcribe table and it's filling those in. So, but the problem is this is a filtered sheet, but this program will allow you to copy it down just by clicking copy. And as you can see, it's doing different ones as it goes down. And here it's saying it's not found. So I have that kind of situation, all right? So basically I would then go through and, after I'm going to go ahead and put these all there because I'm going to have to eventually get it from the user. And I go here. And now all these have been changed, but obviously I have some not founds and things like that that I would have to clean up. After I cleaned it, I would run an audit report until it's cleaned up. After I've got it all cleaned up, then all I have to do is create the import file. There you go. Let's see here. So that's basically how the program works. It's going to go through and create all the different files when needed, and it's going to go through the kind of situation. I think that's about it, Clark, for me.
Great, thank you, John.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody have any questions of John? You can enter in the question section. We've had one question in the meantime asking about a recording available, a recording of the webinar. A recording will be available after the call, and they're sent out via email to all who accepted the invite. So look for that. That will apply for future too. So for some reason you're not able to attend because you're face-to-face with a customer or traveling, etc., join the meeting and you'll be able to get the copy of the link to the recording. And I know that, oh, we've got a question here. Can you import partial, so John, here's a question for you. Can you import partial data that is good to only the remaining data?
In other words, only do part of this data?
Yes.
That's the question. Yeah, there is a way to do it. There are 2 ways you could approach it. There are 2 simple ways you could do it. Is the program is geared that if this particular, what we call the link code between everything, if this is blank, the program will skip that line. So you could put a formula that just said, I want to do these 20 or something like that. Or if you're saying you just want to do the top, in this case, let's just say the top 10, you could just put it here and the program would just create a file with the top 10. So you have a couple options on how you can do that. And again, sorry, go ahead.
So John, I didn't read the question properly to you, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Basically, if we can import the data that didn't air and then come back, correct the errors and do a partial after that.
Oh, so yes, you would just have to be able to, again, in my example, you would just have to have a transcriber that said that had a list of the ones that did go through, okay? And then you would do a lookup, which I've done that a lot, you know, go through and finish it. You would do a lookup basically that had the ones that went in, and if it went in, you'd do a lookup here. You would add to this formula an if statement saying, if this is found in my lookup, do not put a blank here, okay? And that's how you would do it. I'll just do it real quick as an example. Put it here. And see this is the source, yeah. And we're basically going to have a blank. So basically you would just do a formula something like this. We're going to do, yeah. So, oh, sorry, I did it wrong. Just a second. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to do this. We'll just do this. There we go. So I basically then just need to do this. If X lookup that's the value. We go to here, transcribe. Okay, and then comma. Like that. Then oops, if not found. One, that should do it. Okay. Oh, I was afraid of that. Ah, caught me a little bit of E, sorry. Formula, transcribe.
I don't think you need the if there.
I'm sorry, I
I
heard somebody.
I don't think you need the if there if you're just doing the X lookup.
I'm doing an if. This is my value, comma. I need to go here, transcribe. Okay, I need to return this. If not found, this. Comma. Nope, that's it. Equals 2, comma. Otherwise, I need my value. Let's see if this works. Too many arguments. Oh, of course.
John, we're getting close on time.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but basically I can send you guys a formula. But basically the formula would be if that value is in your list, you would just blank this out. Sorry about that, folks.
That's
Next time
okay.
I'll have this ready.
I've
Thank
got
you
one
for your
more
time.
question for you, John.
Mhm.
Recently, I've found that the customer import is missing bank details section. Can this be added to DMT as well as add an import template into, say, HX3?
Yes, you could modify the DMT, any template to include any group you want. And then you, like you would in X3, and then yes, you can add bank. You just add the bank table in this area too. So yes, correct. You can.
Awesome, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, everybody. Appreciate it.
Scott Whitney will be up to talk about what's new. Scott, are you there?
How about now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah. All right, wonderful. So, good morning, almost afternoon to everyone, depending on which time zone you're at. Assuming you can see my What's New screen for the presentation. One of the things that we did want to cover with you is really to draw attention to a lot of what we see on Sage University. So we have a few different on-demand packages. There's a learning package for all the most recent releases with the exception of the last few. We have some on-demand training that covers the learning packages for specific SME areas, or the financials, distribution, manufacturing, and the technical. And those are all updated on demand as of 8/22 of this year. Oops. The scheduled trainings are out on Sage University for most of the COEX new feature highlights. So we do have classes scheduled for the 14th, the 20th, and the 12th, so December and January. We'll cover a lot of the new feature highlights from the Center of Excellence team. We do not have any classes scheduled, or the Central Center team does not have anything scheduled specifically for financials or distribution and manufacturing, but we'll cover majority of those highlighted trainings. Okay. So one of the things that we definitely wanted to draw attention to is the 2022 R3 release notes, and just kind of identify those things that are new in that release. There are two specific areas in those release notes. I'm going to show you where to find those for the new introductions and then any changes that you may see. So for the first, and we do have the newest release notes for R4, we will get those out to everyone in the next meeting. So we can get those values tested and provide any feedback. So for finance, they did include a new VAT framework that enables VAT payments on VAT returns. Distribution for mobile automation, and for those of you that hopefully have heard of mobile automation, if you have not, it's our new ADC automated data capture, and a lot of great information here in that offering. So the biggest one for distribution is really increase user efficiency and productivity. So things like miscellaneous receipts and purchase receipt transactions, if you have location management turned on and you have specific locations in your product site record, those two receipt transactions will suggest locations for your receipts. Stock count transactions. So during the count, you now will see product codes and descriptions that'll display along the header while you're entering those specific counts for those products. And then one I like a lot is the search for the product code using product supplier code or the supplier UPC during the purchase receipt. So there's some of the big ones for distribution. Finally, getting the ability to unlink a license plate number. So being able to unlink stock lines, but again, you're going to have some mobile automation setup and container operations setup is going to be a must there. For manufacturing mobile automation, as we continue to build out, or the team continues to build out on that functionality, we have time tracking for unplanned operations, or the ability to have a standard operation used as an unplanned operation in that function. So for GraphQL APIs, they have the ability here to a lot of updates that are in the release notes for finite scheduler. I'll show you where we have the release notes and the developer.sage.com here in a second. And then the ATP for those that have been able to view this or see this functionality, which really was born out in the first release of 2021. It simplifies X3 upgrades and configurations and minimizes manual testing. So it's a way to build out specific test scripts and have those run automatically. So the big ones in this last release for R3 are screenshots on demand. So previously, the definition for screenshots were only if you found errors. This allows you to get screenshots along the way. And then the platform installation, update, and setup wizard is different. So the PowerShell installer and updater is no longer used in that functionality. And where to find that? So if you guys can see the online help center, which you can get to through X3 or directly through a link, you come out here to online help, you come over to what's new, and right over here in the top right corner, you can see the release notes for every release that we have. Now the latest 22R4 are out. You just drop down the menu, select 2022 R3, and you're on your new tab, and you'll be able to see all of the changes or all of the new functionality within the latest release. Okay. One of the things I was mentioning about the GraphQL is you also have a link right here to developer.sage.com that takes you to better information about GraphQL, what the overview is, and what your recommended next steps are for that functionality. Also on the release notes, so you have what's new functionality, but you also have a tab for changes. So this gives you the ability to see what else has changed. Okay. All right, we'll come out of here. So what else for Sage University is we have what really draws some of your attention to our Central Center of Excellence team have devised a lot of expert classes and practice factories that are very, very beneficial. So if you've ever gone out and had the ability or the time to get out for these classes, but the expert classes give you a range for advanced user functionality with prerequisites that you have for base X3 knowledge. So this is geared more toward the advanced processing functionality within X3 and allows you to extend your experience. The practice factories are real world scenario testing. So you're provided business cases provided on previous customer needs that have been developed, tested, and solutions provided. So these sessions are really intended to test your knowledge and provide a more collaborative environment to learn and teach best practices to each other. So it is really a great collaborative way to do that. So what you'll see here is when we send out the deck, you'll see that this is the last 3-month course schedule. So it covers all consultants, financial classes, and practice factories. They have some for distribution and manufacturing as well. A lot of those are coming up here in November and in December, January. And then they also have technical development and additional workflow workshops that are very beneficial to everyone out there. Again, all scheduled classes are virtual instructor led, unless otherwise noted. Some exclude weekends, but may include study days in between those dates. and then you must be logged into Sage U to access those course links. One of the things that you could find very easily if you're into Sage U, if you go to your calendar of courses and search for the word expert, then all of the expert courses come up for you. If you just want to look at the practice factories, I found that searching for factories allows you to find the individual ones at an easier glance. Okay. And that's what we've got going on. So Clark, back to you in the studio.
Great. Can you see my screen?
Can.
Perfect. So just to wrap up, thanks everyone for attending. Our next consultant roundtable will be on December 18th at the same time. Our consultant roundtables will occur on the third Friday of every month at the same time. You can look for your invitation through Channel Communications email or sign up at the Sage Partner Hub. Again, on behalf of the entire team, thank you very much for your attending, and we look forward to seeing you on the next call. And please share the meeting with your other colleagues. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
Thanks, Clark.